So welcome to today's session. That's me, Amanda Blankfield-Koseff, and we are going to have an hour together. So I would love to go through the presentation with a lot of excitement. It's a very interactive presentation. I'm not going to just be talking for an hour. So I hope that you are ready to be interactive and learn a lot and get some tools that you can use in the future, because this is not just about a business plan, it's about a business itself. And the plan is just, the documentation of that. So you have to have the business before you can get the plan, right? So that's what we're doing today. So that includes how to structure your plan, using tools to simplify the process, start building your plan in real time. So who am I? I've been working in the development space for 16 years. I was the marketing manager at Africa Tikkun for almost 6 years, and I incubated the Youth Citizens Action Program, YCAP, while I was there until 2013 when I moved it to Empowervate Trust. We've had about 750 government schools nationally taking part in our program, and we've seen amazing projects that show impact and sustainability. So we're here today to teach you these social entrepreneurship and business skills that we've been using for the last 16 years and refining over time. And we've realized that the same skills that we teach young people are the same skills that anyone can use. So there's no real difference. Obviously, it's just what you use it for. And that is what we're going to work on today. So just a few expectations, if you can just tell us what you expect from today's session, and we can just check at the end if we achieve them. It will help you with your feedback as well. So anyone want to either put in the chat or just unmute and tell me any expectations, anything that you hope to learn today?
Hi, can you hear me? Morning.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, my name is Komoto Moloi. Looking forward to this session of business plan processing. I'm looking forward to know how to structure a business plan and how to put in place important information on my business plan, where it in terms of hopefully it will be able to capture or to attract or to help me to find business wherever I will be presenting it to whichever organization that I will be presenting it to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Welcome. Anyone else who've got? Thank you. Anyone else have anything else to add? Any different things that you'd like to learn today?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi, Sunny.
Hi.
What would you like to learn today?
Yes, well, as it is, I currently do have a business plan, but clearly the reason why I joined this meeting is to find a way to optimize the business plan while making it very, very simple, because I've noticed of late, people don't like to read a lot of words and things like that. They just want to, gobble the content in terms of the data and move on real quick. So I'm looking for a way to simplify our already existing business plan so that it's easy to absorb and clearly we would always constantly readjust it as we move along. So yeah, that's what I look forward to learning today.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I heard someone else was trying to speak at the same time. So who's that person? They are next.
Hi, this is Malky speaking.
Hi, Malky.
Thank you so much for today. I wanted to find out more regarding the creation of protocols in order to create a structure for the business itself within the plan, in order to be able to create a flow of procedures that would build the business on a regular ongoing basis.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And lucky number 5, who's that?
Hi, I just wanted to ask in terms of how intensively I should be taking notes, how much of the material will be accessible after the course.
Okay, so this whole presentation will be sent through to you. So whatever's written on here, you'll get, but it's more keywords, it's not in detail. So I would suggest have a notepad and pen or your phone or whatever you want to write just some reminder notes on, because there will be a recording, but then you're going to have to sit through it again and write notes. So you might as well just write them now. That would be my suggestion.
Number 5 can be my point that I made in the chat.
Okay, let me look at the chat. Here's the chat. Can you read it to me? Because I can't find it while I'm sharing the screen.
What is the main purpose of today's business plan? To help raise funds, or to guide and keep the business managers in line with the original plan, or both?
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad that we are already interactive, so we're going in the right direction. So just to tell you what an entrepreneurial mindset is. So that is basically the self-directed pursuit of opportunities to create value for others. By creating value for others, we empower ourselves. So I think the key thing about that is that it's creating value for others. We don't just get into business because we want to make money. We shouldn't go into something just saying, I need to make money, because that's not going to get us the results that we want. We have to want to help other people and create value for other people. And while doing that, we will create money for ourselves. So it's just the mindset that we need to make sure that we are on the right track with. What skills are needed in business? So there's project management skills, which is what we're going to go through a lot today. Communication skills, time management, conflict resolution, presentation skills, public speaking. And then I've added in the part that we use a lot with the young people, which everyone should be doing, which is being active citizens and change agents. So wanting to see a change in your school, your community, your hospital, your police station, whatever it is, you want to see change in your society. Like, that's what we want to see. So we should be seeing that as well as part of what we are doing when we start businesses. So what are we going to do today? We've got 10 steps. The 10th one is more like a review. So the 9 steps here that we're going to go through, and then the review at the end, is going to go through all the different parts of the business. And because we only have an hour, it's not going to be in major detail. Like, there's not going to be a whole workshop all day. It's only going to be an hour. So what we're going to do is teach you skills and tools that you can actually use with your teams, or even with yourself if you don't have a team, to go through after this session and to use to go through your business plan or your business idea and get it to a point where it can become that business plan that is going to attract customers and clients. So it's the backbone of it. It's not actually physically writing it yet. You first have to get all of this information, and then you put it together into your business plan. So the first part is how to form and manage a team. So how do you recruit your team? If it's going to be a team that is starting from scratch, how are you going to get the people? If it's already something that is happening, you've already got people. Think about how things are working at the moment. Do a review and see, is it working well or is it not? Is there something we can do better? And also how to make your group into a team. So having a group of people that are just coming together to do business is not always as effective as creating a team. So how do you create a team is to have a lot of interactions where you get to know each other better, where you get to understand their motivations of why they joined the team, and then why you are all there working towards the common goal, which is the goal of the business, so that you are all working in that same direction and not all doing your own thing and then wondering why things are not working. So that kind of team development, creating a culture in your organization, is also really important. And then resolving conflict. When you've got team members, there's going to be conflict. It's going to happen. But how are you going to resolve it? There are positive ways and negative ways. And if you don't have any conflicts, it can actually be a negative thing, because it means that people are too scared to say what they don't like or what they think could be done better. So conflict in itself can be managed in a good way, where you have an open door policy and you talk about the conflicts in a very mature way and you come up with solutions, rather than just saying, no, we don't listen to anyone who says we don't like this, we don't agree with this, you are just negative. We need to have a way that things are done in a very collaborative way, and there's a trust that is built in the team, and that people feel that they can comfortably come and talk to you about something that they don't agree with. And if there's conflict in between different team members, you can sit down and resolve it before it becomes a big problem or anyone leaves because of it. So that all team management, it all fits into the HR department, obviously. If you're a big organization, if you're small, you're going to deal with it yourself. So that's how we like to mention it up front, because, it all starts somewhere. The HR department doesn't start straight away. It starts with an idea and it grows into that. And then working remotely, if anyone is working remotely, how to find a way to still have that vibe of a team, even when you don't see each other all the time, because it's a bit more challenging. You don't have those interactions where you just pass each other in the corridor and have a chat. You have to purposely make moments where you can have more interpersonal discussions and more, fun discussions rather than only meeting for work. So what some organizations do is they say every Monday morning we meet and we just have like a 10-minute catch up about how our weekend was, how we're feeling, what projects we have this week that we need to work on, that we need help with, or that we, on the right track with. And then everyone feels like they're in the right zone and they're on the right track. So that is step one, how to form and manage a team. So is there anything here that I need to go into a little bit more detail on? As I said, we only have an hour, so I can't go into major detail, but that's basically what you would have in there. So who is in your team? What are their qualifications? What are their experiences? What drives them? What motivates them? What are your ground rules or your code of conduct? Or what is happening in your team that makes sure that everything is going smoothly? So that is step one. If you have any questions, you can let me know, or we can move on to step two. And at the end, we can also have questions. Okay, I'll take silence as agreement. So then we go into step two, which is roles and responsibilities. So this is now choosing who's going to do what, especially if it's a new organization. So you say, okay, we've got lots of people that are, applying to be in this job, and we've chosen certain, skills that we need, but now how do we put everyone in the right role? Because sometimes when you put out an advert, you don't always get exactly what you're looking for. You get something a bit different, and maybe you actually want that to be a different role. So look at what roles you need, what team members you have, and try and match them appropriately, and make sure everyone knows what their responsibilities are. That makes life a lot easier. And you can use timesheets if you have that kind of organization that works on time. If it's not a timesheet kind of organization, then it's all about communication, which is reporting, which is meetings, which is updates. Because if no one knows what's happening, then it's not going to be very productive. I'm just checking the chat if there's anything. Oh, Rob's just said conflict resolution is so important. 100% agree with you. It can make or break an organization. Okay, so once the roles and responsibilities are done, now if you already have an organization, you can, as I said, double check that everyone is still in the right role and still has the right idea of what they're supposed to be doing. Because as time goes on, you might see that actually they're not fitting very well in this role. We need to have a discussion and see if there's another role that's better for them, or if maybe that's just not right for the organization, it's not a good fit. And that's a different discussion altogether. But keeping people around when they're not actually adding value is also not good. And it helps to have the right people doing the right thing rather than having people who are not, and then the good people get, discouraged by those others that are not doing the right thing. So it's a bit of a balancing act in that regard. And step three is really important, and this is where we're going to start doing a little bit more interactive stuff. That is where you do research. So especially if it's a new organization and you want to know exactly what the layout is of your target market, what kind of situation are you in right now? Are you in a specific area where you want to start a business that's very localized? Are you doing something that's more national? Are you doing something that's more international? Is it more online? Is it more in person? Those kinds of considerations, as well as what actually you're going to provide. If you're sitting there and you're going, look, I want to start a business, but I don't know what to do. You would start here. You'd say, okay, number one, SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is doing a general strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your specific industry, your specific area, whatever it is that you are working on. You can do that analysis. You can even do one of yourself and say, look, as a business entrepreneur, I don't want to do the finance. My strength is not finance. So then that's a weakness. So you need to get someone who's very good at that to work with you on that. So finding out what your strengths and weaknesses are will also help you, as well as team members. They can also do this exercise, and then you can see where people fit in better. And you'll also you'll know up front what people are good at, what they're not good at. So it's not going to be a surprise later on. And then the opportunities and threats as well, especially if it's an organization, let's say, that has been running for a long time, and now you're thinking, like, what can we do differently? How can we stay relevant? How can we be flexible? Because, you have to be flexible. You can't just do things the way you've always done. Time changes. You have to change with the times. Like these days, AI is taking over. So how are you going to change? That's a threat right now, but how can you make it an opportunity in your business? So this exercise is very important, and I'd say that you should all do that as homework. SWOT analysis. Then the next one is if it's a business that is based in a physical place, then you draw a map of the area or environment and you list all the gaps in the market on that map. So it could be a product or a service. It could be anything that you find is not there in your environment. And then that could be something that you could do as a business. For example, let's say that you live in an area where there is no dry cleaner. You have to drive like 20 minutes to get to the nearest dry cleaner. Well, maybe that is something that could be a good business idea. because you'll be the only one. You know, maybe that area does not have a nice hairdresser. Maybe that's something that you want to get involved in. Maybe you already are a hairdresser. Who knows? So what I'm saying is you won't know until you actually do the research. And you might find something that pops out at you and it's like, wow, I never thought of that. But that is actually a really good idea for a business. Then there's another exercise that we're going to do. So there's the SWOT analysis. There's the map. So this is a map of a school, but for an example, at a school, they would say that, you know, there's all these different challenges happening at these specific places, and then they would choose the one that they're going to work on in this project, and the others could be for another project. So it would be, you know, phased in. You wouldn't try and do everything at once. Like if you have lots of products and lots of services that came up, you wouldn't just do them all at once. You would choose the most, you would prioritize the most profitable ones and the ones that are most needed, you know, where there's a demand, and you would start with those. So that's basically like an elimination process that you would go through, which is the systemic stairway. So that is what we're going to do now, which is a very cool practical exercise. And I want all of you to come up with really nice creative ideas. And we are going to go through this process so that you can use it to prioritize and say, what do we want to do? So we're going to find 5 different business ideas, and they can be businesses that you just, you know, thinking of right now as just something that came into your head, or it could be something that you've thought of doing or something you are doing. It doesn't matter. And, you know, we're not going to put it on any specific person, so don't be shy about it. It's just a general kind of idea of businesses. And then we're going to go through this process, and you'll see how we can prioritize and make sure that we are doing the right thing at the right time. So any ideas for businesses? And you can say it or you can put it in the chat.
Hair salon.
Hair salon, okay. Okay, let me just get rid of this chat box on. Okay. Okay, hair salon is one.
May I use my own business?
Yeah, so it's just in this example, it's just a general hair salon. So unless there's something specific about the hair salon that makes it different from other hair salons, that could be the only thing we'd add here.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be hair salon / barber shop also.
Yeah. Perfect. That's
Oh, sorry, or can I change? I just thought of something I will be more familiar with. Let me rather say this. Hair salon that specializes with kids only, for kids.
So kids hair salon. Okay.
Hey,
so that's more
kids hair salon.
okay,
Yeah, I think it will be better to work with.
Okay, awesome. So we've got a kids hair salon. And now I'm trying to get the chat back so I can read what it says. Yeah. Okay, restoring car headlights in the malls or any company. That is very specific. Oh, here's a kid-friendly restaurant, a loungewear boutique, a recycled plastic golf tee. Recycled plastic golf tees, would that be an organization though, or would that be one product that an organization would do? Because now we're looking for businesses, like a business, not a product. So maybe we'll leave that one until you explain that. But loungewear boutique, let's do that one because that's different. Loungewear boutique. Okay, and then we also had a kids restaurant. So only for kids, or specifically focused on families. And then there's another one. The car headlights also is like a specific product. I don't know if it would be a company. So maybe we need to be a bit more broad there. We need one more idea and then we're going to go through. 2 more, sorry. 2 more.
Well, you mentioned artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So why not something around artificial intelligence?
What? Because that's so broad. Let's think of something specific.
What could it do specifically? It could read a whole lot of reports for you and summarize them.
So AI for knowledge.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then the last one.
Garden design, I thought of.
Garden design. Okay, perfect. So now we've got our 5 ideas. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to group them. If there are any that need to be grouped, but I think they're all very different, so we don't have to group them. It's fine. Now we're going to put them in these blocks, and this is where it gets really fun. So if you do have a pen and paper, you can draw this diagram as we're going, and you can draw the arrows as we go. So just in the meantime, draw 5 blocks I will also do it with my cookies. I like to do things manually. So I will draw it on my side. So the first block at the top, make it the yellow block. Then the next block is the green block. Then the turquoise block. Then the red block. And then the dark blue block. Okay, so those are our blocks. Now we're going to put our business ideas in these blocks. So the first one, or the one that we have on the list here, is the kids' hair salon. So we're going to do that as the yellow block. Then we have the green one, which is the loungewear boutique. The turquoise block is going to be the kids' restaurant. The red block is going to be the AI for knowledge. And then the dark blue one is going to be the garden design. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take the first block, which is the yellow one, and we're going to compare the yellow block to the green block and say which one is going to be more profitable. Like if we were thinking just, without doing any research, but just top of mind, gut feel, which one do we think would be more profitable and would be more demand for it right now? And then you can just write in the chat 1 or 2, because we're comparing, or you can write yellow or green if you want. We are comparing those two at the moment. So let's see what we get. So between the kids' hair salon and the loungewear boutique, which one would you, if you were an investor, which one would you invest in?
I would invest. Should we answer or should we write?
You can answer if you want. Which one would you put?
I would invest in yellow, the kids' hair salon, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that every household in an area, there is a kid there that would come over to my salon to come and do their hair, whether a boy or a girl. The salon will accommodate both. And again, not only kids, but it will obviously have it will accommodate all age,
Everyone.
with,
Okay.
yeah, kind of like everyone.
Okay, great. So that's a vote for number 1. And we've also got another vote in the chat for number 1. And there's 1 vote for number 2. So another one. Now we're tied. 2 votes for number 1, 2 votes for number 2. The next one coming in is going to be the tiebreaker. What's it going to be?
Hi, everyone. This is Sunny. So
one,
I would vote for the number 1, the kids salon.
And number 1 has won because you and someone in the chat, 2 in the chat have now said number 1. Okay. So what you do now is you take the arrow from the kids salon and you draw the line all the way to the green box, and then you draw the arrow end, the pointy end into the green box. So the most important or urgent or, profitable one is the one that you draw the arrow from, and then you put that arrow into the top of that green box like you saw in the picture. So now between kids hair salon and kids restaurant. So between the hair salon and the restaurant, both for kids, which one would you think is going to be more profitable? So yellow or blue? Or you could say 1 or 3.
The blue is it's garden what?
So it's the kids hair salon or the kids restaurant. So that's the light blue one. So kids hair salon, which is number 1, or kids restaurant, which is number 3. So I've got one.
The kids restaurant, you said it's turquoise. Am I wrong?
Turquoise, yes.
Yes, turquoise.
Yes. So we've got 2 votes for hair salon, 3 votes for hair salon. So 3 for hair salon and 2 for restaurant. Let's see if we can get 1 more and decide which one it's going to be. Here's another one. Oh, 1 of each. Okay, that didn't help. It's quite a tie between them because they're both kid focused. So they're similar in that way. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. It's a tie. 1 more, and then whoever it is going to be the tiebreaker. Let's see who it is and what it is. 3. Okay, so the restaurant has beaten the salon, but only by a small margin. So we're going to draw the arrow from the turquoise to the yellow. And then the arrow is going to go into the yellow. Okay. Now we're going between 1 and 4, which is the yellow and red. So the kids' hair salon versus the AI for knowledge. So 1 or 4. Okay, we've got to vote for 4. Another 4. Ooh, AI is winning. There's 2 4s. Another 4. 1 more, and then we know that AI is 1. Yeah, AI is 1. So we draw the arrow from AI into, so the red one into the yellow one. Okay, now we're between number 1 and 5. So the kids' hair salon or the garden design. So 1 or 5. Okay, 1, 1, 5. 5. It's a tie. 5. Garden is winning. 1. Tie again. Let's see 1 more and then we'll know. 5. Okay, so it looks like garden design is just beat kids' hair salon. So we're going to put the arrow from number 5, which is the dark blue, into number 1, which is the yellow. And now we're moving on to number 2. So number 2, between the loungewear boutique and the kids' restaurant. So number 2 or number 3. Loungewear boutique, which is like more casual wear, basically. That's what it means. Casual wear, loungewear. Shop for clothes, but casual clothes, versus the kids' restaurant. Which one is it going to be? 2 or 3? We've got 1, 2, 1, 3. Another 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay. Kids' restaurant's beating the loungewear. So you're going to draw the arrow from the turquoise number 3 into the green number 2. Now between the loungewear and the AI for knowledge. Which one? 4 or 1? 4 or 2? There's 1, 4, there's 1, 2. Only 1, 4 and 1, 2. No one else is voting for this one. Okay, 4, 4. 3 4s and 1, no, 2, 2, wait, 4. 4, 4, 4. 4 is winning. Okay, so AI is going to go from the red box into the green box, which is 2. Now between loungewear and garden design. So the casual clothes or the garden design. So number 2 versus number 5. Which one is going to be? 2 is loungewear, 5 is garden. Looks like 5 is winning. Okay, so we draw from the garden into the loungewear. Perfect. Now we're going to the kids' restaurant. Between the kids' restaurant and the AI for knowledge. So number 3 is the kids' restaurant, or AI for knowledge, number 4. Number 4, number 4, 4. Okay. So AI is going to go from the red one into the turquoise one. Between the kids' restaurant and the garden design. Kids' restaurant is 3, garden design is 5. Okay, 5 is winning. Let's go from garden design into kids' restaurant. So from 5 into 3. Between AI for knowledge and garden design, 4 or 5? 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay. And then it looks like we've completed our job. Now what we need to do is the ratios. So the ratios are very cool. What you do is you look how many arrows went out of the first box. So the one that went out, there's 1. And how many went in? 3. So 1 went out, so that there will be 1, and then the colon, you know, the 2 dots on top of each other, and then the 3 next to it. So it'll be a ratio of 1, 3, meaning 1 went out and 3 went in. Then for the loungewear, we had none going out, so 0, and we had 4 going in. For kids' restaurant, we had 2 going out and 2 going in. So it's 2 colon 2. Okay. Then on number 4, we've got 3 going out, 4 going out, and none going in. And then garden design, we've got 3 going out and 1 going in. So if you look at the ratios now, it will help you with the stairway. So if you look at the diagram that we had here, The stairway looks like that. So the stairway at the bottom, you're going to put the one with the highest ratio that went out. So the first number must be the highest number. And that's the AI for knowledge. So the AI is number 1. Okay, then I'm drawing a stairway. The next one after that, so the next number that was highest was the garden design. Okay, and then the next one after that was kids restaurant. Then after that, it was kids hair salon. And then the last one was the loungewear. Okay, so we'll just write that in here. And you'll see how this all fits together. It's pretty cool. So the kids' hair salon was the red. The loungewear was there. The restaurant was there. AI. AI is there and garden is there. So there's that. Okay. So now that we've got all of those listed here, you will see now with the way that this is structured, the bottom of the staircase, okay? See, it says here bottom level's driver, then the link are the 3 in the middle, and then there's the top level, which is the outcome basically. So I'll just take out that, it's only 5. So of those, you'll see that the first one, the driver, this one here at the bottom, that one is the one that's called the highest mark, the highest ratio. So that is the AI for knowledge. So if you were starting a business, that would be the thing that you would start with. Okay, so the AI is the first one because it got the highest score. Then the next one after that is the garden design. And then after that was the kids' restaurant. And after that was the kids' hair salon. And then the last one was the loungewear. Okay. So if we were starting a business now, there's many ways that we could do this. The first way is we could say, okay, we're just doing the AI. That's obviously the winner. We're just going to do that. That could be our business. But if we were doing a process now where we were deciding what products or what services we want to have under our banner, and our banner can be vast and diverse, and we don't want to focus only on one industry, we put like Virgin, you know, Richard Branson's company where he just focuses on everything, then we could do that. You know, these are diverse things and they could be like that. So we can either choose one, or we can say we're starting with one and then we can add on others later on, or we could put all of them together if we were doing a business that is very diverse and we have a lot of experience and we've been around a long time and we just want to add new stuff, and that's fine. But we'll start with AI for knowledge. So AI for knowledge is the first one because it is something that, number one, does not require a lot of capital. You know, it can be done online, anywhere across the world. It doesn't have to be any specific, you know, retail space, any specific rent. You know, it can be done virtually. So there's very low capital outlay in that regard. There will be other costs involved, obviously, but that would be the cheapest one because you don't have to get a premises for that, right? So that would be number one. Then from there, you could go into garden design. So garden design, you could actually, you know, do that as something online as well, where you could have people use your system, the AI system, to go and find different garden designs online, and they can book from there which one they want. And then you can link them with suppliers who do the garden design, or you can do the garden design if that's what you want to do. So they could link. You could see that anything that is, you know, internet-based can do all of these things that we've mentioned below. So all of these things could become linked to that kind of virtual world, but obviously some of them require physical presence. But you could book things or choose like hairstyles. Here it says kids restaurant, the menu can be online, the kids hair salon. You can have the booking form there of the hair salon. You can have the different styles that are available. You can have testimonials. So all of that can be online, and then people will book their experience and then come to a physical place to have that experience, or you could go to them. You know, it depends what kind of model you have. If it's a garden design, obviously you're going to them. they're not coming to you. If it's a restaurant, it usually is something that they would come to. A hair salon could be a mobile hair salon. We don't know. Could, have something where you book a session and people come to you and they do your hair in your house. Or you could have an option of that or coming to their salon. And then the last one is loungewear, and loungewear can be sold online, or it can have a shop as well where you could go on and try on all of the different clothes and choose what you want, or you could just order it online. So do you see how this helped us to have a mental image of how things could work and what would be the first thing that we would start with? So that is an interesting exercise to use for your current business. You could have different products here and try and prioritize them like that, or you could have different businesses that you're looking at doing and then choose one from there that you're going to look at in more detail. But this is a very intuitive exercise. It's not something that you have researched yet. We've just been discussing it without the research. So then you would go and you would research it afterwards and see if this actually matches to the research. And oftentimes it will, because as we've said now, it's intuitive. AI is the future. It's the easiest one to see that one would be the one that you would start with. But if your business is one of the other ones, then they are still on that link. They are still there. It's not like anything's wrong with them. You just have to think outside the box and see how you can modernize it and make it applicable to your market. So I hope that was an interesting exercise for you and that you've learned how to do it so you can use it for anything else that you'd like to use it for. We used it for a school example here. So it was all the way from learners are hungry being the problem, which is obviously the first one you want to start with, because without that, nothing else matters. And then moving through lack of textbooks to substance abuse to absenteeism. And then obviously the outcome will be good academic performance. Like that is an obvious progression. So that was the little example over there. Then our next step is identifying the idea and describing it. So categorizing all the potential ideas and choosing the one you want to work on, and then going into full detail. So baseline research that you can measure later. So, what is the thing we're going to do? Where are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? Who's going to do it? All of those major questions, and then you would have proper research on that and choose, are you actually going to do that one? And also something you can measure. So at the moment, in our area, we don't have any kids' hair salons. So we want to do that as our business. So you have to do the research to see, okay, maybe there is someone else who does that. That's a competitor, but what's different between us and them? Why would someone come to us instead? So that kind of identification of the exact idea that you're going to work on and describing it. So this would be your actual business. What do we do? And then what are your products or services? And then the next part is finding the target markets and brainstorming solutions. So now it's coming up to, okay, we know what we're going to do, but how are we going to do it? Who's going to be our target market? Who would we like to be our customers or our clients for this? How do we find them? Where are they? Who are they? So it's very important to understand who the person is, or the people or the businesses or whoever it is that you're going to sell to. Who is that? So you have to do an analysis of that, and then also brainstorm these ideas with your team and practice your listening skills, your conflict resolutions, and your leadership. And you can use something called the 6 thinking hats. So this is the 6 thinking hats that Edward de Bono designed many years ago. And it's basically saying that when you're in a brainstorming session and you're thinking of ideas and you want to be creative, the best thing you can do is to separate out the different parts of the creative process so that the person wearing that specific hat is going to think only of those elements. And then the person wearing the next hat is going to think only of those elements, so that at that time, no one gets distracted by the different elements, as well as, like, let's say you're a very creative person and you only want to think of green hat stuff, which is the creative side of things. If you only want to think of that, then what about all the other hats? You're going to neglect all of those other very important parts of the brainstorming process. So either what you need to do is you need to have a team and they all wear different hats, and then you can swap hats in different meetings to have a different experience, or you need to wear the different hats while you're brainstorming if you're by yourself, so that you can say, okay, I was a green hat person, that is my normal hat, but today I have to put the black hat on. I have to think of what are the risks and cautions of this business, what could go wrong, so that when something like that happens, you already have thought about it and you have some solutions to it. And I think that's where a lot of businesses go wrong. They're very green hat thinking. They're very excited. They go in guns blazing, but they haven't thought of the risks. So as soon as something comes up that is a risk, then they're like, oh, didn't think of that. And then the whole thing just fails. So it's a very important exercise to do. Blue hat is the process and planning. The white hat is the facts, the data, and the research. The green hat is the creativity, alternatives, possibility. The yellow hat is the benefits, logic, the why the idea works. Why does it work? The black hat is the cautions, the risks, and the dangers. The red hat is the feelings and intuition. So you would go through this with your team members and you would come up with their thinking. So if you're wearing the blue hat, you only talk about process and planning. So does anyone have any blue hat ideas around any one of these businesses that we were discussing? Like, what would be your next step once you've decided, okay, I'm going to do the AI business. What do I do now?
Start doing research.
Yes, so you would do research, which is the white hats. So you would research the competitors. You see, is there anyone else that's doing something similar? You would research. You'd research the AI options. You know what? There's so many different AIs out there. Which ones are you going to use? Are you going to choose that Claude, or you're going to use ChatGPT? You know, which one? So, for example, let's say for the process and planning, we have to think of, you know, how we're going to do it. What process do we have to follow? Do we have to go and open a bank account? You know, is that the first thing we need to do? Or do we need to first get the business plan and then get a funder and then open the bank account? Like, what is the process? As someone asked in the beginning, what is the order of steps in the systematic process? So that is something you would put there in the blue hat. So the first steps. So you wouldn't go straight to an investor if you didn't have any of this information, because they just ask you the questions and you'd look at them blankly. So obviously you'd have to have all of this first, and then you can always change it later. But if you go in there without anything, they're not going to take you seriously, right? So that is an important part of this whole system. It's to have all of the answers before you even get there, because they will ask. So you have to know what the answer would be. Okay, so for an example here for green hat, so the alternatives and the possibility, you could say a green hat is, you know, we're going to have, let's say now it's the kids' hair salon. We're going to have a special kids' certificates that they get when they get their hair cut. So they feel so proud that they got their hair cut at that salon. And then that will create brand loyalty. It will get more people to want to be customers there, because that child will show someone else and they'll say, we also want to go there. We want that certificate. So those are the kinds of competitive advantages that your business would have. So I'm going to say a competitive advantage, because it's a creative way of differentiating yourself from the other competitors around them. Yellow hat thinking. So what are the benefits? What is the logic? All of that kind of thing. And then the black hat is the cautions, the risks, the dangers. So what kind of problems could come out? So AI, there's hacking. There's the Poppy Act. So those kinds of things that you have to be aware of and have processes in place for. And a lot of businesses have been involved in hacking and spam and, you know, people getting their information stolen and all kinds of things. So that is a definite risk, especially if we're in the AI business. Or let's say with the risk with the hair salon, what happens if we injure the child while we're cutting their hair? You know, what is that kind of policy? Do we have a first aid kit? Do we have a process in place that if that happens, we know what to do? Anyone else have any ideas for any of these hats?
Well, I think for yellow, maybe AI works well because it's quite novel.
There we go. Very good. It's novel. It's international. No rent of retail store. And you might have to have an office space for your staff, but not a retail store. Yeah. So the red hat is the last one, which is it's more like an intuitive thing, and that's what we were using for more of that systemic stairway and that whole diagram we drew, because it was, what kind of feeling do you get? Like when you look at these things, when you look at garden design, like what do you see? What do you feel? Do you feel like that's something that you would be passionate about? Or if you look at hair salon and you're like, oh no, I can't deal with that. I'm not into scissors. They freak me out. And obviously you're not going to do a hair salon. You know what I'm saying? So the intuition and the feelings, that is going to be quite important to steer you in the right direction. You have to trust that as well, because sometimes it just doesn't feel right. So it's just trusting that feeling. And if it feels right, then it probably is going in the right direction. Anyone else want to add anything to any of these hats? Make sense? Okay. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the planning, the actions, and the budgeting. So now it comes to more business stuff. So we do an action card where you explain what needs to be done, what resources are needed, how much time is needed, what budget is needed, if there is any in that part. And then that helps you to actually put together everything in a very simple way to start managing before you get fancy systems and, all of these technology ways of managing a business. When you're just starting out, you don't need all of that. You can actually do it in a simple way like this. And actually, this can continue like that. It doesn't have to go to all of those big systems until you get to a certain point where you're big enough that you need that. So what action is going to be taken? Who are the people who are going to do them? What resources, information do we already have? What resources, information do we still need? How much time is it going to take? What money do we have? What money do we need? So that is basically going to explain to you how to run this. If someone else was asking about systems and processes, so you'd put here, what are the processes, and you put them all in action cards. So the one action card could be about how to set up the business, registration of the business, how to make sure that everything is legal, compliant, all of those things. So it'd be that part. And then the other part would be doing the target market research. So everything would be put into different sections, and then you'd see in one glance exactly what is going on, and people can report on that. So when you have meetings, then you can go through this and say what everyone's been doing, and it makes sense, which leads us to number 7, which is managing the team and doing the actions. So now we can see that people are responsible and accountable according to how much they actually did within their scope of work. So it says what needs to be done, who's going to do it, what's needed, and by when. So when you're in your meeting and you say, okay, so the mural's supposed to be painted by the 18th of June by Jay and Pretty, and they needed paintbrushes and spray paint, did they do it? And they say, no, I didn't know about that. I thought it was by the 21st of July. I didn't know it was by the 18th of June they were supposed to do that. And you can say, no, it says it here in the minutes that that's exactly when you're supposed to do it. So it actually gives people that kind of certainty of knowing who's supposed to do what. And when they don't do it, then it's easier to understand what the problem is. Is it a miscommunication? Was it the person lacking any kind of resources or knowledge or experience or anything? Or was it something that was, just impossible to do? So that is where managing the team makes managing the team very easy. And then you can also go from the changes, the changes from the planning to the action, because things change as you're going through them. They don't always go according to the first plan. You have to be flexible, and you have to be, willing to change if things are not working out. Then step 8 is about actually measuring that what you did is working. So let's say you've now set up your kids' restaurant, and the first opening day or the opening week was amazing. You had hundreds of people in your kids' restaurant, and there was hype on social media and everything was going well. But then the next 3 weeks, you had like half the amount of people. So firstly, what were your expected numbers? Is it matching that? So you have to have stats on that. And secondly, what is the reason for it? Was it because their first experience was so bad that they didn't want to come back and they didn't tell others to go there? Because in that case, you need to rethink things and start, going back to the drawing board and seeing what is wrong. Let's say the food was too salty and people were just like, no, I can't. This restaurant's just got horrible salty food. We don't want to go back there. Or let's say the problem was the playground was not well made and it just didn't look safe and people didn't want to go there. So you need to look at what was the cause of the drop in numbers and assess what you need to do about it. Or maybe it was just something like everyone was there for the hype of the opening, but there was nothing like to keep them loyal. You didn't have any loyalty program. So they didn't feel like they have to go back again. They were like, oh, we've done this now, let's move on. So that is the kind of research that you need to do. Also on the financial side, are you charging the right amount? Did you do your research properly to see that you're covering your costs properly and making a profit without overcharging to a point where, you're out charging yourself and no one wants to go to your place because it's just too expensive compared to others. So you have to assess that and you have to look at all the details and your evidence and see if you are on the right track or not. And if you're not, then you change it. So that's the thing. A business plan is not something that you just create and then you put it as a doorstop and then never look at it again. It should be always refreshed and revised as you're learning, as you're growing, as you're getting there, because the point is it should be something to help you and to guide you. It shouldn't just be something that's compliance. And that's, I think, why we do this workshop all the time at OrtJet, because it's not just about having something that looks pretty on paper. It has to be practical. It has to be usable. So that's what this is all about. Step 9 is talk about it, the communication, the motivation. So the communication within your team and the motivation, how to make sure everyone's on the right track and they're doing the right thing. And when things go badly, how do you make sure that they don't get despondent? Celebrating the small wins. As soon as something goes well, you have a celebration and you pat everyone on the back. So that kind of motivation is important, but then also the communication out there to your market. How are you going to communicate? Are you going to have social media? If you are, how are you going to manage it? Is it something you can do or you need to outsource it? How are you going to promote your business? Obviously, it's going to come if they don't know about it. So you have to have a plan, a communication and a marketing plan. Do you need PR? Do you need advertising? So all of those things fall under step 9, which is to get the word out there, to talk about it, because if no one's there, then you're not going to get anywhere. Then there's the Icehouse Opportunity Discovery Canvas, which is just basically questions that fit into what we've just discussed in a one-pager. So it's describe the problem you want to solve, describe the type of people who have this problem, describe how they're currently solving the problem, describe your proposed solution, how will your solution be different, why might your solution not work, will people buy into your solution, how will potential stakeholders learn about your solution, how will potential stakeholders implement your solution, what have you learned and how has your idea changed through the process, and next steps, fill knowledge gaps, test your assumptions, and all of that is in a book. So as you can see, we've gone through all of that. There's a whole book about it. This is an American author that I met, and I thought it's very interesting to put it in here because it's just phrased differently, but it does the same thing. Then company profile. So once you are done with that whole process, you go to company profile, which is the business plan. You're going to create the business plan, and then you're going to put this together, which is more of a summary, professional summary of the business and its activities. And you can use this to raise capital and win investors. And you can also use it to inform other stakeholders, including clients. And the business details you'll put in there, like all the general contact details and all of that. And then the company basics of, exactly what your products are, what your services are, your public relations, advertising, safety, POPI, all of that stuff will be in there. So that will be a more highlighted package. And then you'll do a section of the highlights of your organization. So any awards you've won, any certifications, testimonials, news, all of that. And then your optional items will be if you want to put in your annual sales, if you have that information yet, financial targets if you don't have any sales yet, or even if you do, numbers of employees, partners, photographs, and things like that. So that would be a document that you'd put together. But you have to have the business plan first before you can put the company profile together. That is just a summarized version of it. As someone said in the beginning, they'd like to have a summarized kind of, not so long document because people don't have time to read. This would be that company profile. So basically you take everything that you've got, you make the proper document with all the information and all the details, and then you summarize it into this document. So the conclusion is that we hope that you learned valuable skills today that you can use practically, and you must remember planning is key, but you need to be flexible so you can stay relevant and profitable. And now I'd like to go back to the expectations and then any questions that you might have. So did we do the structure of a business plan? Anyone want to vote? Did you learn a bit about the structure to see what you need to put in there? How to make a business profile? Did you get an idea about that? Okay, we've got something in the chat. Yes, okay, great. So we've got some yeses there. Then the next one was how to attract customers or clients. Do you think that if you have that document, the summarized document, or even the big one that you're going to do, will it help to attract customers and clients? Because now people understand what you do. Okay, we got some yeses for that. Thank you. Then find ways to optimize and simplify your current business plan. So those who've already got business plans, will this process help you to restructure it in a way that's more simple and more effective? Okay, we've got some yeses there. Thank you. Then the next one is this creating the structure and the flow of procedure. Obviously, we can't go into detail, but did it help in a certain way, like especially the action plan and the management plan? Did that help to create a structure for the business and the flow of the procedures? Gives you some kind of idea where to start, which is, the whole point of this. Where do we begin? Okay, great. And then the last one is raising funds or keeping managers aligned with the plan. So I think that would be the management number 7, step 7. That would definitely help here with the keeping managers aligned. And the raising funds would be the step 6, which is about the action plans, budgeting, fundraising. So hopefully that has covered everything, and you are welcome to go through the recording and also this document that we're going to send through AuthJet. And if you have any questions from here out, you're welcome to contact us and we can assist you further.